It's the best of bias. You need the earful, you should try us. From pop culture to the movies to Unitas. It's the best of bias. Your best of bias. Yeah, it's the best of bias.
You are now listening to the Best of Bias Podcast with Lydell Dinero and Hugo Twilight.
What's up, everybody? It's time for another episode of the Best of Bias Podcast, starring yours truly, Lydell Dinero. Man, I feel like I ain't talked to y'all in so long, even though it's only been a week. But a lot has happened since I talked to you guys last, and I'm glad that you guys are here to discuss it with me. If you're new to the show, basically on the show, we kind of talk about a little bit of everything. We bring the bias of the week, the last couple of weeks to the table, no matter what it is, whatever you guys want to talk about, we bring to the table. We'll talk about it. We talk about sports, we talk about pop culture, science if you got it, movies a lot, sports, of course, fantasy football, gambling, politics, sometimes very little. But pretty much we talk about everything. And of course, we got the merch, which I'll get into a little bit later. But today, we got fantasy football, NFL to talk about. Of course, we got some D23 stuff, but we'll get into all that after. I have to start with RIP PNB Rock, man. Another one of our young rappers, entertainers slain in the streets. He wasn't in the streets. He was actually at a Waffle House in South Central LA. But it's like, I don't know. It's just like being a rapper is a target nowadays. I don't want to get too far off the topic at hand because we did lose a young man. A life was lost. He was eating at a Waffle House again, like I said, in South Central LA. I don't know if this is exactly the case, but what's going on in the media, what's being said in the media is from his girlfriend being there. She posted her food and the location they were at, which is a no-no, especially when you're rich or an entertainer or something like that, because there's people out there who are crazy nowadays, especially in 2022 when the whole world is kind of struggling. People are sitting out there just kind of looking for these celebrities and these different kinds of people to show up so they can go out there and have an opportunity to come up, steal their jewelry, steal something from them and make some money real quick. Because I'm not just going to be sympathetic for the people that are robbing people at all. Some people are just monsters and straight up thieves and doing thug ass shit for no reason. But in this case, he was just enjoying dinner with his girlfriend, and I guess somebody came into the Roscoe's, tried to rob him, and there's a robbery gone wrong. I don't know if he had a weapon and tried to defend himself or whatnot, but he ended up getting shot by these people that came and robbed him, and he died there. Well, he was bleeding out there on the Roscoe's floor, which was crazy because, again, it was one of those deaths, one of those scenes that was caught on film and then put on social media, which is another crazy topic that I won't get too much into today because we got a lot of football to talk about, a lot of fantasy to talk about, but this whole putting people's live deaths online is just wild shit that I feel like needs to change in culture and need to change in society nowadays. People get numb to all this death and shit that's going on. So they feel like it's necessary to post people's at their ultimate low, people losing their lives online just for people to see, just to get that credit of being the person that posted the video. I don't know who actually put the actual video that was of PNB Rock on the ground. He was kind of like bleeding out, kind of twitching his fingers and stuff. It was really graphic. I don't think you should go out looking for it. It just came across my timeline because I'm on there looking for topics for you guys all day, you know what I mean? And it just happened to stumble across my timeline, and that's just wild to see. He had a daughter. I know that family. It doesn't matter. Everybody has family. Like nobody wants to see one of their loved ones lost. You know what I'm saying? All those people left in his memory that he was taking care of that are all mourning right now. It's like I said, his daughter, girlfriend, all of them are mourning his death. Prayers out to all of them. And people are kind of blasting the girlfriend for posting location. Nobody knows if that's truly the way that those guys decided to, rob PNB Rock. They probably just sit out there all day and they know it's a famous spot for people to come see, in South Central. Rappers come through there all the time and they use that as an opportunity to come to rob somebody. But a lot of people in the media and a lot of celebrities that were close to PNB Rock are saying that it's his girlfriend's fault and she should know that posting addresses and stuff like that of where you're at in real time is really dangerous. And that it ended up being fatal. I mean, again, I don't really know. if that's exactly what it was. It could be people scouting out places and scouting out for people pulling up in nice cars, wearing jewelry and stuff like that. And yeah, and that's how it happened. So prayers out to the families. We lost another. There's too many of these lives being lost senselessly. And it's always, I don't know if it's always like this, but it's mostly us killing each other, man. Black on black crime, just because one of us is up. And I don't know, we just don't like to see each other make it. It's a crab in a barrel type mentality. I hope we can just get out of that and see that this shit is kind of crazy, man. It's like being a rapper is a profession that you can't really get famous without being super flashy. And if you're too super flashy, people are gonna want to rob and take what you got because people are starving and kind of want to be like you and have what you have. So it's a wild situation, double-edged sword. And again, people out there saying being a rapper is one of the most dangerous professions right now, and it really is, man. Again, RIP to the families, RIP to PNB Rock. I'm definitely gonna slap some of his music today. I know it sucks to see, artists' music skyrocket when they die rather than when they're alive, blessing them by listening to their music. I did listen to a lot of his music back when he first came out, but I didn't really listen to a lot of his new stuff. So I knew he had a long career coming. He's only 30 years old. It's very sad to hear. So again, RIP to all the families. And we're going to just move on into some NFL. So just get the mood up real quick before going to NFL, man. How was week 1 for y'all? Y'all team win? Y'all lost? I don't know. I'm going to get into it. A lot of my friends' teams lost, but the Buccaneers, we stood strong. You know what I mean? We'll get into that, of course. That's the last game of the night. It was the primetime game, 5:30 game on NBC and all that. You know what I'm saying? 19-3. You saw him out there, young Thomas Brady, 45, coming out there holding down, but I'm not going to start there. We're going to go in order. We already saw, I don't know if I reviewed it. No, because it was actually getting ready to happen when I recorded the last episode. So the Buffalo Bills, the opening game last week, destroyed the LA Rams on ring banner night. They got their rings. Odell was out there dancing and stuff. People thought the Rams were going to repeat as champions. You know what I mean? We were hearing a lot about Matthew Stafford's elbow, and we didn't know how he was going to actually hold up. People thought it was just speculation. He said his elbow was good, but he didn't play too well, man. They made the Buffalo Bills look like world beaters, and everybody's kind of predicting the Buffalo Bills will win the championship this year. And after Thursday night's game, I don't think anybody's belief in them is going to waver at all because they whooped up on the Rams. I mean, I think Matthew Stafford had 3 turnovers, throwing crazy interceptions. To me, it was a really weird game. I'm going to talk fantasy-wise for a little bit because I had Allen Robinson, man. Allen Robinson, coming from his situation from being on the Bears and not being able to get many targets, not really having a quarterback. Everybody thought this year would be his year to actually go out there and kind of show what he had with a good quarterback that won the Super Bowl last year, Matthew Stafford. They had this offseason. They were saying that he was great in camp and he's going to have a good showing in week 1. I started his ass in my flex and he ended up getting 1 point. It was crazy in this game that Cooper Kupp had 17 targets. That's nuts. I have never heard of that kind of shit. I know that's his best friend and everything, and they won a Super Bowl together, but 17 targets is crazy, first and foremost. Tyler Higbee had 11 targets, and I think Allen Robinson only had 2 targets total. One of them was a 12-yard gain, and the second one was a desperation throw at the end of the game, which wasn't really gonna decide anything. And it was a bad throw. It was a terrible throw. More so, it was it was supposed to be a fade to the back of the end zone, but he threw away inside, and it was almost intercepted. So I don't know, man. Of course, I can't not talk about Josh Allen. He was crazy out there running, throwing bombs. Their offense looked like it was made perfectly to beat the Rams. They really missed Von Miller because Von Miller on the other side was causing havoc. I think he had 2 sacks. Even without Tre'Davious White, they were able to contain the receivers and didn't let them score many points. It was crazy. Devin Singletary looked crazy. James Cook fumbled on his first carry, though. It's crazy. But the game, Josh Allen was just dominant, man. He was stiff-arming DBs and stuff, running for first downs, running when he shouldn't have been running. And they scored at will. And they had a couple turnovers themselves. So if they didn't have those turnovers, they might have had more than 31 points. So that's what's crazy about it. They could have 50 points in that game if they really wanted to and weren't turning over the ball. But hopefully the Rams will, recover in week 2. I'll talk about the game the week 2 matchups and the spreads and shit like that a little bit later. But the Rams had some trouble. They lost 31-10. The Baltimore Ravens beat the Jets 24-9. Lamar Jackson was showing that even though he declined his contract that they offered him, that he's going to bet on himself and go out there and ball out. And he did, even though the Jets are kind of lowly right now. They got Joe Flacco starting, and their defense was all over his ass. Marcus Peters being back. And some of the additions they got in the draft is making their defense look nasty. And Bateman actually was out there, scored like a 50-yard touchdown. So if Bateman can come alive, they have Mark Andrews, of course. Duvernay has actually been showing his ass, which means doing well for the last couple of years now out of Texas. So if that receiving core can put itself together, I'm hearing a lot about Isaiah Likely, who I talked about a lot in the last couple of episodes, but I haven't seen much of him yet. But if he can come on and then Dobbins gets healthy, they can be good, man. They just signed, I think, who was it? Kenyon Drake. And he's a hard runner, man. He's not the best running back in the league or nothing like that by any means. But, having him be like another back in the backfield, to have him with whoever's going to be starting out there once Dobbins get fully healthy, I think they'll be all right. Joe Burrow and them just lost. I'll get into that a little bit later. And the Steelers barely beat them. So, if Lamar Jackson can hold his water, and the Browns barely beat the Panthers, I'll get into that also a little bit later. So if Lamar can get his stuff together, he can win the division and be back in the playoffs. You know what I'm saying? So, and get that big contract that he wants. Just stay healthy. And the game looked pretty good for him, man. Whoever has him in fantasy, he's going to get you pay off big dividends this year. Atlanta versus the Atlanta versus Falcons. The Saints versus the Falcons. The Saints barely won 27-26. It's kind of crazy how Atlanta always has a lead and kind of collapses towards the end. We always put our faith in Atlanta and think they can make some kind of upset or think they can get to the promised land of some kind, but they always end up blowing it in the end. Ever since that Super Bowl, I ain't got to get into it. Some Atlanta fans already know what's going on, and I know the Patriots already know what's going on, Patriots fans. So this entire game, Marcus Mariota was, controlling the game. I saw Cordell Patterson. I was watching a lot of these games on Red Zone, was controlling the ball as well. They were scoring at will. I think Jameis Winston had like 54 passing yards at halftime. Their defensive line was getting pushed around, and it looked like the Falcons were going to steal a victory, but I guess that's not what happened. I'm not too sure what happened towards the end of the game, but Jameis Winston was able to come back. I know Michael Thomas ended up scoring 2 touchdowns somehow. Jarvis Landry had a good game, and Chris Olave had a good game as well. They are going to be pretty dangerous. We play the Saints next week. I'll talk about that in the week 2 matchups as well and talk about that spread a little bit, but sheesh, man. They blew it. My boy Marcus Mariota is still starting for now. Hopefully he has less games like this and he ends up winning more than he loses, so you don't lose a spot to Desmond Ridder halfway through the season. But yeah, they lost that game. We got the Saints next week. We'll handle your lightweight, Atlanta. I'm talking to you guys, Jason. Excuse me. Goes. Who we got next? Miami and New England. Miami surprisingly beat New England and handed them 20-7. The Pats are struggling. All the stuff we heard in the offseason, and Mac Jones kind of struggling with the offense, and the offense not really looking good. Josh McDaniels is with the Raiders now. I think Matt Patricia is in charge of the offense. So I think it's kind of looking ugly for him right now. They don't know really what to do. Mac Jones hurt his back. He's supposed to be able to go for week 2. But Tua and all those weapons they got out there in Miami were able to handle Bill Belichick and their defense. You know what I'm saying? I saw Waddle had like a 70-yard touchdown, something crazy like that. Tyreek Hill had some catches, and I saw that Chase Edmonds had a good game as well. So if Tua can hold that offense together and do some things, you know what I mean? I feel like the Dolphins could, get a wild card, because I know they ain't beaten the Bills twice, or maybe not even once, but who knows? The Dolphins is, it's looking up, and hopefully Tua can hold the team together and get some wins in there so people don't talk about cutting them so much, because I like Tua, you know what I'm saying? They won 20-7. Cleveland beat the Panthers 26-24, Cleveland Browns. This was the return of it wasn't the return of. It was the return of the Browns, I guess, to Baker Mayfield's new home, because he's playing with the Panthers now. The Panthers were the home team. The Browns were visiting. But all his old players, of course, Baker famously played for the Browns for about 5 years, I think. I think they didn't pick up his contract or something like that, and they traded him in his 5th year, something crazy like that. But It was crazy because at the beginning of the game, he did terribly. He was fumbling, throwing interceptions. Weirdly, they weren't giving the ball to Christian McCaffrey nearly enough. I don't know if they were trying to prove that Baker Mayfield can make the throws and throw the ball, but they needed to stick to the game plan and just give the ball to Christian McCaffrey 140 times because I do got him a fan in my fantasy football team, a couple of teams actually. He was, of course, he dropped to me in the 8th pick, and I was kind of, happy to get him there. But shit, man, he only got me 15 points, but I'm used to him getting like 40. It's full PPR, man. Give me at least 20. Give him more touches, more carries if you're trying to win some games. But anyways, it was pretty much the Baker game. That's what the coaches, Matt Rule, kind of made it seem like. They had him throwing the ball up and down the field early. Of course, like I said, he was making some mistakes, threw a couple interceptions, and he fumbled. Everybody thought it was going to be the ultimate Baker game. He was what we thought he was, just a turnover-prone quarterback that can't really make nothing happen in big spots. But he was actually able to make a little comeback. A couple of passes to Robbie Anderson. Christian McCaffrey was doing a little bit of work. You better get the fuck off my street, bro. Yeah, sorry about that. A garbage truck just drove up the street. Garbage day was a couple of days ago, bro. I don't know why you coming down the street like that. Sheesh. But anyways, where was I? Before I was really interrupted. Yeah, he was kind of making a little comeback. And they did make a comeback. They took a lead like a couple of minutes into the fourth quarter, but Jacoby Brissett was able to mount a comeback. Nick Chubb was running like crazy the whole game. The Panthers couldn't really stop it, and they didn't really make Jacoby Brissett throw the ball as much as he should have had to throw the ball. They made the game really easy for him. And right when we thought Jacoby Brissett had too much and Baker was actually going to have his comeback game and the fairy tale ending to the game that he wanted, the Browns kicker makes like a 58-yard field goal to seal the victory, and the Browns actually end up winning. It's kind of crazy. Week 2, hopefully, again, you give it to Christian McCaffrey more, and maybe you'll win the game, Baker Mayfield, and stop trying to show off and prove that you're the shit. Just do what you need to do to win games, and that'll solidify your spot as a quarterback. When Sam Darnold gets healthy with that ankle, he won't take your spot because you won't be trying to force it and making hella mistakes. Just give the ball to Christian McCaffrey. That's all you got to do. Anyways, next game, Pittsburgh and Cincinnati. This one was kind of crazy. Joe Burrow ended up throwing having 5 turnovers. Didn't really have a great game. The Pittsburgh Steelers were kind of handling them throughout the first half because of all the turnovers. But Joe Burrow, man. Skip Bayless says he's the next Brady. I don't say all that, but him and Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd and Joe Mixon, man, that those offensive weapons are way too much for anybody, you know what I mean? And they were able to make that comeback and able to make it close. And then it came down to field goals. Is that truck coming back? Like, what the fuck is happening? Excuse my language for everybody listening. That truck just made a fucking U-turn. Anyways, back to what I was saying. The game was kind of crazy because we had 2 games in the NFL this week that had like a 20-20 score in overtime. And both kickers were missing field goals on both teams. And it took McPherson, of course, we saw him last year talking all that mess in the playoffs that he was like so 100% on field goals that just put him in range and he'll make any field goal any day type shit. He was so braggadocious about it. But in this game, he was missing a bunch, and Boswell ended up kicking a field goal in overtime to win the game, 23-20. Not much in this game really happened. Najee Harris didn't really do much. He hurt his foot in this game and was questionable for week 2, so who knows exactly what's going to happen with that. Najee's from Antioch, out here in the Bay, so we always root for him, but he is looking a little nicked up right now. They both had 2 chances to win the game with field goals, and they missed it in overtime. So it was just kind of crazy game to see. Speaking of crazy games to see, Chicago Bears beating the 49ers 19-10. Never would have expected this. We thought that the Bears had no offense and couldn't score against anybody, would never be able to beat the 49ers. And the 49ers were supposed to be this high-powered, ready-to-go type of team, made the NFC Championship last year, and they thought with Trey Lance, they'll be primed to go. But the football gods had another story. It was a monsoon out there, and it didn't really give Trey Lance an opportunity to show his talents. You know what I mean? Rainy games, you're kind of limited to the running game and to really safe throws because you can't catch the ball. It's super slick, and it's hard to throw the ball out there in the rain, let alone catch the ball. So Trey Lance kind of struggled out there, and being that Justin Fields, I don't know if he's really used to rain, but he's used to inclement conditions in Chicago. I know that for sure. He was able to score. It was like, I think it was 10-0, and he was able to score 19 unanswered points to win the game, which was really crazy. I know the 49ers were a little embarrassed about it, but they'll bounce back. The weather conditions, I feel like they're never going to have to play in those kind of conditions again this year. I think they'll be all right. So, um, 49ers play the Seattle Seahawks, I believe, this week. So I think they'll have a bounce back game. I think it'll be rather dry in Seattle or in Santa Clara. So I think everybody will be all good. And I think he'll have a bounce back game. Trey Lance, if you have him in fantasy, don't give up on it too soon. You probably picked him up late. That's a great value. You know what I mean? The Philadelphia Eagles versus the Detroit Lions. Man, 38-35. This game was interesting as well because the Eagles got off to a fast start, scoring points at will. AJ Brown, Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown connection was as promised. He got targeted 13 times, which was interesting. He caught 10 passes and had 155 yards, no touchdowns. Hold on one second. I stressed out no touchdowns things because he's my number one receiver, my receiver one in fantasy right now, and I need those touchdowns. He got me 15 points, but if he would have had a touchdown with that, we would have been like in the high 20s, almost 30 points. You know what I mean? But I do respect the targets. They are supposed to be like best friends. I didn't know that. He went to Ole Miss, and Jalen Hurts went to Oklahoma and Alabama. So I didn't really know they were friends like that. But for them to be friends and have that connection on the field is really good to see. Excuse me. Wow. Girl got dry on me right there. But yeah, the game was good. Miles Sanders was out there scoring touchdowns too. He's always encouraging people not to pick him up in fantasy because the team, you don't never know who's going to score. But he was out there doing his thing and got a bunch of points in fantasy. I like that. Jalen Hurts also was doing his thing in fantasy. People that took him this year weren't really sure if they wanted to take him or not due to his arm and stuff like that, and weren't really sure if he was going to be able to hold it down like he should as quarterback one for them. But he's doing his thing, man. The Lions coming off of Hard Knocks were actually making a comeback too. As you can see, it was 35-38. The Eagles didn't really close out the game much. Jamal Williams scored a couple touchdowns. You know what I'm saying? Jared Goff and DeAndre Swift did their thing as well. Amon-Ra St. Brown, of course, did their thing. The Lions aren't to be, trifle with. Dan Campbell got them playing hard at least. They're down 38 to, I don't know, I think they had a lot of points. They're down a lot to a little for a lot of the game. And for them to muster up a comeback like that and almost, come back and win the game, it's pretty interesting. You know what I'm saying? They're not the Lions from the past that just roll over to everybody. And I want to see what they look like against the Packers because the Packers didn't have a good game either this week. So we'll talk about that in a second. Colts in Houston, this is another one of the crazy games. I'm not even going to talk too much about it. They tied. So who wants to talk about a tie? Goddamn. Let me get through some of these games. I'm not gonna bore y'all to death talking about all of them. And I gotta talk about the Bucks. Washington Commanders beat the Jacksonville Jaguars 28-22. Kansas City Chiefs won 44-21 over the Arizona Cardinals. Mahomes throwing 5 touchdowns. That was pretty crazy. He said they ain't got no number one receiver this year, and they don't. He's just spreading the ball around, and I feel like he's more comfortable doing that now. Not having to force feed Tyreek Hill. He has a bunch of receivers that he can just throw to whoever's open. And of course, Travis Kelce's going to get his work no matter what. So the team is looking good now, and the defense got stronger and better. So they're going to be a force to be reckoned with. So whoever thinks the Bills is just going to walk through the AFC is going to have another thing coming because the Chiefs are still here, Patrick Mahomes says. The Chargers beat the Raiders 24-19. Carr had 3 turnovers, which was crazy. And he actually force-fed Devontae Adams the ball. My bad, Matthew Stafford, for saying it was crazy for you throwing the ball to Cooper Kupp like 17 times. This fool, Devontae Adams, had 17 targets as well, caught 10 for 141, though, who was actually ultimately the highest performing receiver of the week. Justin Herbert, of course, looked good. 26 of 34, 279 yards with 3 tutties. Keenan Allen did get hurt in this game, but Justin Herbert don't care. He's gonna spread the ball around anyways and figure out a way to win the game. The coach be tripping sometimes, Staley going for it on 4th downs when situations where they should just take the points. But I know sometimes it's gonna put Justin in some crazy positions. So I feel like he should just play safe and let Justin just grow and develop and learn to not have to get everything at once. You know what I'm saying? And that way you don't teach bad habits. That's all I'm saying. Next, we got Minnesota and Green Bay. This is the game that's kind of crazy. Another receiver that went off. And I lied again. He was not the top performer of the day because Jefferson went off for 11. Actually, let me just tell you the score first. So Minnesota won 23-7. Green Bay had a really, really, really bad day. Christian Watkins almost had a touchdown on the first play, offensive play for the Green Bay Packers, but the ball went right through his hands. It was a walk-in touchdown. That boy ran 4.32, so he would have went right to the end zone, but he dropped the ball. Jefferson, on the other hand, was catching everything. He had 11 targets, had 9 catches, 184 yards with 2 touchdowns. Anything he did, he was getting open. No DB could guard him. There's highlights and videos online of Zaire Alexander trying to guard him. He would just 2 steps and just be out of there. The separation was crazy. He had no chance. Aaron Rodgers is still getting used to those young receivers. And it was interesting to see A.J. Dillon get a lot of work. I think he got more receptions than Aaron Jones. And I think he was had a lot more work than Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones was still out there doing his thing, but I think A.J. Dillon had more meaningful snaps, if that makes sense. But hopefully they get it together because they 0-1. They didn't look too good either. They had like a Rams type of game, maybe a little bit worse. New York Giants won 21-20, which was very interesting to me because all the teams in the NFC East won except for the Cowboys. So all the teams that everybody expected to be the last in the NFC actually won their first games, even though a lot of the times early in the season, some teams do get lucky. And because we did have like the Panthers get hot early in last season. I don't want to call Arizona one of those bad teams that get lucky because they are pretty good. But anyways, the Giants did beat the Titans 21-20. Saquon Barkley is back, 18 carries for 164 yards and a touchdown, 6 receptions for 30 yards for 194 total yards. Daniel Jones is still Daniel Jonesing, you know what I mean, throwing interceptions and turning the ball over and stuff like that. But they were able to squeak out the victory. They won from I think Saquon Barkley 2-point conversion. Derrick Henry had 21 rushes for 82 yards, which I don't really feel like that's not that effective for 21 carries, but they're probably keying in a lot more on Derrick Henry, especially after the last couple of seasons he's had. But I know fantasy-wise, the owner is probably hella mad. But Tampa Bay versus Dallas. Tampa Bay won 19-3, so I can really get into this one. Tampa Bay looked good. Offense looked a little rusty. We do have some linemen in the middle that we're replacing. We do see Robert Hainsey out there, Shaq Mason, and Luke Gedeke for the first time. They actually held their own for a little bit. Donovan Smith did end up getting hurt, hyperextended elbow. But we were able to do enough to get in the field goal range. We were really, really, really good field goal range, actually. We were at like 21-yard line, 22-yard line, 36-yard line, 8-yard line, just kicking field goals because we couldn't complete drives in the red zone for some reason. Michael Parsons and whoever would just come in and they would just do a blitz. I don't even think they were blitzing. They were just getting around the end. And kind of after Donovan Smith went out, Josh Wells was our left tackle, and Michael Parsons was able to do whatever he wanted to him. So we weren't able to close off drives on third downs. He would come in and just disrupt the play. We would have to kick a field goal, and we missed a field goal as well. So we could have had 22 points. Honestly, it would have been 22-3. But our defense really did a good job. Dak Prescott did end up hurting his thumb. Shaq Barrett was in on a sack, and as Dak Prescott threw the ball, he swiped at his hand, and his thumb kind of went back. It didn't kind of go back. It did. And it happened twice. So I think it did break. I think it was a clean break, and he has to get that fixed. So it'll be out for like till week 9 or something like that, like 8 weeks. So they're starting Cooper Rush now. But during the game, even before he got hurt, the offense wasn't showing anything. Without Amari Cooper, without Cedric Wilson, and without Michael Gallup, the offense was really pedestrian. They were able to run a little bit with Zeke, but they went away from that really quickly to try to get it to CeeDee Lamb. And the defense we were playing, we were able to shut down their passes. We ran a lot of zone. Last year, we tried to run a lot of man, and they were able to do whatever they wanted to us with their receivers. But this year, since they only had CeeDee Lamb, and they didn't have a bunch of receivers that can do whatever they wanted into a zone, they just kind of like, put Carlton Davis on CeeDee Lamb and just zoned up everybody else. And they're able to shut down everything. Antoine Winfield had an interception. It was Devin White had a great game. My middle linebacker, if you watched the game, he had a sack. I think he almost had an interception. He was everywhere, making a bunch of tackles. So week 2, you play the Saints, man. There's not really much to say about this game because there's not really much offense happening. Julio Jones looked really good. He had him on a couple end arounds, a couple bombs out there. Mike Evans had a touchdown, the only touchdown of the game for Tom. It was a great touchdown, back corner. You know what I'm saying? Nobody's going to out jump Mike. It was like almost Odell Beckhamish how he caught it one hand back of the end zone, you know what I'm saying, on that fade. That's all day, especially when we have him and Julio Jones. I think them together is going to be able to do that all day in the red zone. So once our line gets a little more comfortable, week 2, we play the Saints again. I keep saying that. I'll talk about it in a second. Hopefully we can get a little more confident in the red zone and actually complete some drives with touchdowns. But we were moving the ball at will, chunk plays, 15, 20 yards. Lenny ran for like 15, 117 yards, something crazy like that. Was getting out there. Everybody's mad at him from that little chip block he did on Micah Parsons. We're not taking the chip block out of football to make it really easy for your defensive ends to come and hurt our quarterbacks and running backs. No, bro. They're going to help. They're going to chip you guys before they go on the route. Sorry about it. You got a little bit embarrassed, but it's not leaving the game, bro. It can't. Sorry, Vaughn. Sorry, Calais Campbell. Sorry, Micah. He said he wasn't really tripping off. He was just joking, but it really sounded like it was when you thought people were going to be on your side. So now that people aren't on your side about it and you lost the game, you gotta just try to flip the narrative. But it's okay. It is okay. Next week we'll talk about week 2, and I'll talk about some spreads real quick. Week 2, we got Thursday night game. We got the Chargers versus the Chiefs. The Chiefs are at home and they're favored by 4. I think I'm going to pick the Chiefs in that game. Their offense is doing crazy things. I don't think J.C. Jackson is back for the Chiefs defense or the Chargers defense yet. And I think the Chargers, maybe if Khalil Mack has another week like he had last week and can get after Patrick Mahomes, maybe they will actually come through. I'm always rooting for actually, what am I talking about? I'm going for the Chargers, bro. What am I talking about? You know what I'm saying? What was I even saying? How y'all even gonna let me start to say that I was picking the Chiefs? That's crazy of y'all. What kind of family is y'all gonna let me pick the Chiefs against my boy Justin Herbert? What kind of Oregon fan would I be if I picked against the boy? I'm picking the Chargers, but they are in Kansas City, and the Chiefs do have a 4-point. They are favored by 4.5. The Colts versus the Jags. The Colts, I believe, are 0-1-1. And the Jags are 0-1. The Jags are at home, and the Colts are favored by 4. So I'm probably going to pick the Colts in this game. I saw that Jonathan Taylor and Matt Ryan and Michael Pittman had a connection. I don't really believe too much in the Jags offense quite yet. They're starting to make some noise. James Robinson is doing some things. Lawrence is getting a connection with Zay Jones going. And, of course, he has his boy Etienne out there. So they could make some noise, but I still kind of believe in Indianapolis's defense enough to think that they can stop the Jags enough to outscore the Jags with their weapons. The Commanders are 1-0, and they're playing the Lions, who are 0-1. Lions are at home, and they're favored by 2.5. I think the Lions will win this game. The Commanders won game 1, but I don't know. I still don't believe in the Commanders secondary quite enough yet. And I think after having a close game with another NFC East team, I think they'll be able to come through and actually, cover that spread, maybe even win by more at home. Dolphins versus the Ravens. Ravens are at home. Dolphins are 1-0. Ravens 1-0. Ravens are at home, and the Ravens are favored by 3.5. I think the Ravens will take care of business in this game as well. But you never know. The Dolphins are frisky, and they are always surprising. Each year, they always surprise you once or twice, especially early in the season, like we talked about before. Some of the teams that are usually the unlucky teams do get lucky early in the season. So who knows? They can win, but I'm not going against the Ravens in my pick. I think their defense will be able to contain the weapons of the Dolphins, and I'm picking them. The Jets versus the Browns. The Jets are 0-1, and the Browns are 1-0. The Browns are at home, and they're favored by 6. That's crazy because the quarterback is still Jacoby Brissett, and I feel like it's weird for them to think they can score enough points. I guess they're just going to be on the ground running the ball to death, and the Jets can't. I guess they ain't got no defense enough to stop the run because 6 points is a lot. I mean, they are at home, though, so I guess with the crowd and the advantage of being home, the Browns will win. So I do got the Browns in this game. Joe Flacco, I don't think he's the solution for Zach Wilson. You know what I mean? Zach Wilson is dealing with the knee injury. So Joe Flacco is in there trying to revive his career, leading the Jets to prominence, but they are 0-1. I'm hoping that Brees Hall gets some run this game and we can see the emergence of Brees Hall, but I think the Browns do win. I don't know if it's by 6 though. Panthers versus the Giants. Panthers are 0-1. Giants are 0-1, or actually 1-0. What am I talking about? Giants are at home and the Giants are favored by 2.5. It's going to be a good game. It's going to be a battle of good running backs. That's what I want to see. The quarterbacks or whatever, the receivers or whatever for both teams. DJ Moore is pretty good, but me personally, I know there's going to be a lot of running backs involved in this game. Both running backs are showstoppers, and they do catch the ball and run the ball really well. And they're pretty much both of their team's best players. So I expect to see some greatness out of those running backs. I will be picking the Panthers. I don't think the Giants go 2-0. It'll be crazy to see them if they're at the top of the division. I'm probably going to pick the Eagles and who they play anyway. So I think the Eagles are probably going to win that division. That prediction will probably come later when I get some of my Cowboys fan friends on here. I know Kyle and Sean are going to be on soon to talk about the Cowboys and how they feel about Dak being hurt and all that kind of stuff. So we'll get into that when we get to that. So Patriots 0-1 versus the Steelers 1-0. The Steelers are at home and the Patriots are favored by 1 point. This is interesting to me. I don't think they should be favored, especially with the Steelers being at home, especially after last week they lost to the Dolphins. I know the Dolphins may have, well, I mean, the weapons on the Pittsburgh Steelers are still pretty good. Deontay Johnson, Chase Claypool, Najee Harris. They aren't as fast as the receivers on the Dolphins. And the quarterbacks, they're comparable, Mitch Trubisky and Tua. So, and the defense on the Steelers is really good. And what we saw from Mac Jones last week wasn't really impressive. So them thinking that the Steelers are going to lose, especially by a point, it's pretty close to spread, but I would take the Steelers if I was a betting man, but I'm not really a betting man like that. But Steelers are probably going to win that game. That's who I got. Falcons 0-1 are in LA against the 0-1 Rams. The Rams are favored by 10.5. That's crazy, but the Falcons blew a big lead last game. So, yeah, I think the Rams are going to want revenge, and they're going to come out there and smack them boys up. But probably way more than 10.5. I bet they, try to not even let Marcus Mariota and the Falcons score any points. And they have the capability to do that shit, so they may do it. Seahawks 1-0 versus the San Francisco 49ers 0-1. 49ers are at home, and they are favored by 10 points. Trey is going to be they're in Santa Clara this week. Trey's going to have the home crowd behind them. They should be able to put enough points on the board and be able to stop Geno Smith way more than the Broncos did. I don't know how the hell they lost to Geno Smith like that. But the 49ers have a really good defense and a really good pass rush, front seven especially. I think they'll be able to shut down that run game that they did have with Rashad Penny and Ken Walker being back this week. And I think Trey Lance, though Elijah Mitchell might have gotten a knee injury, Jeff Wilson, Deebo Samuels, Ayuk, I think they'll be able to muster up enough points to beat Seattle in Santa Clara, and they'll be 1-1 and have the home crowd pretty happy out there in the Bay. Out here in the Bay, I should say. Bengals 0-1 versus the Cowboys 0-1. Cowboys are at home, and the Bengals are favored by 8 at Jerry World. That is crazy. Dak Prescott is out, but that is nuts for them to give the Bengals 8 points. I mean, actually, I guess it's not nuts. Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and them are probably going to go wild, score a bunch of points, and they're not going to be able to score many to combat the scoring that the Bengals are going to do, because Cooper Rush ain't that guy. I don't think it's going to be a lot of Zeke, a lot of Dalton Schultz. We'll see if they'll be able to get the ball to CeeDee Lamb this week, a lot better than last week, but I'm not too sure. In that game, I do have the Bengals. I'm sorry, Cowboys. Oh, yeah, in the 49ers game, of course, I have the 49ers. The Cardinals 0-1 are taking on the Raiders 0-1. The Raiders are at home, so it's in Las Vegas. Raiders favored by 6. Cardinals defense looked pretty bad last week. Their offense is looking pretty bad as well because they don't have Rondell Moore or D-Hop right now. It's just basically AJ Green and a bunch of other people, James Conner and stuff like that, and Kyler Murray. The defense isn't looking good at all, so I think the Raiders are going to be able to recover from last week. Devontae Adams is going to have a big game, and I think Derek Carr recovers from 3 interceptions and actually puts up points at home for his home fans. It may win by more than 6. It's going to be a good game, and I got the Raiders. Texans versus the Broncos. The Texans 0-1. Broncos 0-1 after losing at their last week game. Was it the Sunday night game or the Monday night game? It was the Monday night game, yeah. It was a crazy game. Again, they lost to Seattle somehow. Russ's first game back in Seattle, they were booing him. Maybe that got in his head and ruffled him a little bit, but he didn't have the best game. The coach had a weird-ass play calls towards the end. That whole wasting the time to kick a 64-yard field goal instead of going for it on 4th and 5 was stupid as hell. Javonte not giving him the ball most of the time and splitting the ball with him and Melvin Gordon is stupid as hell. Russell Wilson not throwing the ball to Cortland Sutton until the second half, stupid as hell. Though Jerry Jeudy was getting off, he was just throwing the ball to tight ends and shit like that, man. Use those receivers. You guys got the whole offseason. You had the whole offseason to work together, and you talked about how explosive you guys were going to be together. After halftime, we saw that you were forcing the ball to Cortland Sutton a lot. But during the first half, you should have spread it out more to the receivers, Jerry Jeudy. You hit that boy Beck a lot, that tight end that I didn't know nothing about. But yeah, man, I think week 2 against the Texans, they'll be able to do a lot because the Texans aren't really that good. I know the Brandon Cooks will probably do a little bit of something. I'm hoping Brandon Cooks can do better this week because I have him on my fantasy team, and I was hoping that he can be my flex receiver that week and actually perform a little bit. He was on my bench last week, but this week I had Allen Robinson on my bench, like I will talk about a little bit when I get to this fantasy stuff. But hopefully he can, Cooks can put up a show against the Broncos and we can see something happen there. The Broncos are favored by 10 points at home, and Russell Wilson will probably redeem himself in a big way that game. The Bears are playing the Packers. The Bears are 1-0 and the Packers are 0-1 actually. The Packers had a bad game. The rookie receivers didn't really show up for Aaron Rodgers the way they should have. I know he was worried about that coming into this season. He thought the receivers are a little too green. He's used to experienced receivers to help him out there, and him not being able to have his receivers there for him, have people to rely on, kind of bit him in the butt last week. So he'll probably do his thing this week against the Bears, who got lucky against the 49ers. They're favored by 10 at home. They are in Lambeau, so they'll probably make a comeback and win that game. The Titans, we have 2 Monday night games. The Titans are playing the Bills in the first one. Titans are 0-1. The Bills are at home, 1-0, and they are a 10-point favorite as well. The Titans lost to the Giants last week, as mentioned a little bit earlier. So I think they're down and out right now. And the Bills are, as you saw from week 1, are firing on all cylinders. So I think Josh Allen and the Bills will win that one by probably more than 10 points. And then we got the Vikings and Eagles, which is going to be a really good game, actually. The Vikings are 1-0, and the Eagles are 1-0 as well. The Eagles are at home. They are a 2.5-point favorite at home. And I kind of think the Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown connection is going to be true, even though, we saw what Jefferson did last week against the Packers defense, and we thought the Packers defense was going to be top-notch this year. So we don't know what's going to happen necessarily, but I think the Eagles, their defense is pretty good with the addition of Jordan Davis and Nakobe Dean. James Bradbury out there was showing out. So they got some things and some additions to their defense that could make it hard for Dalvin Cook, Kirk Cousins, Adam Thielen, and Justin Jefferson and company. So I think I'd rock with the Eagles in that game. I'm sorry I didn't give you guys my picks for the last couple. I do got the Bills and the Titans game, of course. I got the Packers and the Bears game, and I got the Broncos in that Texans game because, that's for sure a revenge game for Aaron Rodgers, and I know he's going to get his just due. But that's it for the week 2 predictions and stuff last week for week 2, actually, for my predictions. I didn't really write down my predictions from last week. Like I said, I might have mentioned that before. But if I do get all my predictions wrong from week 1, check me, because I will be bragging about it if I get them all right from this week. You know what I'm saying? Make sure you go back and keep me honest to let me know how I was doing in week 1, how many games I got right. So in week 2, when I get all of these right, y'all could be like, damn, boy, you a guru in this too? Not only fantasy football, you predicting games? I might be winning y'all some money in Vegas. Who knows? Who knows? But speaking of winning money, let's talk about week 1 results of the Best of Bias Invitational 2022. Week 1 was a good week, not for me so much, but for some people, it was a good week. But we just getting started. It's going to be a long season, and I'm hoping everybody in the league is excited. I'm hoping to get some people from the league on this podcast to talk about some of these weeks, if they performed well, if they performed bad, just to talk about the league in general and tell everybody on the podcast how much fun they're having. And just for you guys to get to know some of the guys from the league, because, family there, you guys are family. Just make the family bigger. You know what I mean? And you'll probably hear from them a lot because they'll probably be on random podcasts as well. So you got to meet them eventually. But let's start with week one. My team, I lost 105-118. The Kyle's team, man, Allen Robinson and David Njoku did me dirty. They didn't do what I needed them to do. They actually came through. Only gave me 1 point. They both gave me like under 2 points each. I had some players that were doing good, and I ended up losing by like 13 points. Me and Kyle had two players in that Broncos game that we were talking about a little bit earlier. I had Sutton, he had Javonte Williams. Javonte Williams had 11 catches. We have a PPR league, so that alone just gave him a whole bunch of shit. And every time he ran the ball, he got like 9 yards a pop. So he ended the game with like almost 20 points, maybe even 23 points, and was able to beat me. So I'm 0-1, but it's a long season. Good job, Kyle. Unanimous beat, who was Tay. Tay beat Deshaun 132-68. Deshaun, you had the lowest score of the week, man. I don't know what's going on with your team, but I think I got a trade for you we can talk about after this. You know what I'm saying? May have your team right. It can kind of benefit the both of us and get you back on track. But, Deshaun's lost to Tay that week or last week. Deshaun, I told you this is my number one threat to my fantasy football throne. I told you guys it's going to be my number one threat. Yeah, he won 157-144. They're both scoring a whole bunch of points, Jason, but you didn't have enough points to mess with that 157. You know what I mean? Those teams you guys got you guys are probably the top two teams I'm worried about in this league, but you guys fought it out, but somebody had to lose. Deshaun won. Yeah, keep fighting, boys. Derek versus Damon. I know Damon lost Dak Prescott mid-game, so that kind of fucked up his whole game plan. He only barely still won, or Derek still only barely won by a couple of points, having Russell Wilson get 16 to 17 points is all he needed to win. But Russell Wilson kind of, barely got those points to win. He actually was able to, outlast them by 11 points. So Derek's 1-0. Damon lost his first game. I know he has Tua and he picked up Carson Wentz off of waivers, so I know he'll have somebody to replace Dak. And your season's still alive, man. Don't lose hope. I got faith in you, player. Yancey versus Sean. Yancey had 120 points to Sean's 88. Yeah. Nothing much to say about that game. Sorry about that, guys. Jeremy had 149 and he beat John's Hot Boys. The highest score of the game. Who was the highest score? I talked about that already. Yeah, that was Dijon. Lowest score of the week was Deshaun. You guys both. Last week we did highest score gets $5, or we did like game of the week gets $5, something like that. But you know what I'm saying, I ain't dishing out that kind of cash this year, especially not by myself. I'm sorry, fellas, but keep fighting it out. You know what I mean? But Jeremy did beat John 149-136, like I mentioned, leaving the standings as follows. In the Best of Bias Invitational 2002, after week one, we got Dijon coming in first place, Jeremy in second, Tay in third, Yancey in fourth, Kyle in fifth, Derek sixth, Jason in seventh, John in eighth, I'm in ninth place, Damon's in 10th, Sean's in 11th, and Deshaun's in 12th place. Keep fighting, boys. I know it's still early in the season. It's only been one game. I know some people can get down and out after injuries happen in week one, or they lose bad in week one, but championships aren't won in week one, like I like to say. And I won some championships, you know what I'm saying? I still got my faith in my team, and I know I'm gonna win the championship. I have no doubt in my mind that I'm gonna win this championship, you know what I'm saying? But I still would love to have the boys on to come talk each week about somebody from the league. There's 12 of y'all, 11 other you guys in the league. So somebody can get on here and talk. Don't be shy, you know what I'm saying? We could talk about how your team performed, what you think is gonna happen, get some predictions in, maybe get some side bets online, you know what I'm saying? Get people on live talking, making some bets, you know what I'm saying? Get some debates going, because I know they would love to hear a lot from the league here and get kind of more ingratiated with us and what we do on our side time. Because I know I talk a lot about fantasy football, and I've talked over the years a lot about my championship. So if they can get more of an inner view of what goes on within the leagues, what it takes to win a championship, and the ups and downs of a league, and people's emotions, different people's emotions, because my emotions gonna be at an all-time high all the time, because I'm be racking it in winning these games. But everybody else, they don't really, I know people be losing. I know Kyle have had some bad years. I know John has had some bad years. He won the toilet trophy last year, so I want to get somebody to come up here and talk about some of the war stories of fantasy football, the highs and lows. You know, maybe some people aren't really into it out there in the best of bias world and want to know what it's like, and maybe want to get into it for the first time. You know, let's help them out. We're trying to save the world and get everybody into the stuff we into. So yeah, but let's get into our first commercial break. Everybody get hydrated, and we got some stuff to talk about. D23 was this week. Disney dropped a whole bunch of announcements about stuff that's happening in their theme parks, movies, TV shows, some stuff on the MCU side, some stuff on the Star Wars side. There's plenty of stuff to talk about. So we'll transition from the fantasy football and NFL week 1, and we'll get into some DCEU and some little pop culture topics. How about that, huh? It's the Best of Bias podcast, and we'll be right back. Yeah. And we are back. Thank you guys for coming back. Hope you guys are refreshed. Let's get into some more topics, shall we? D23, September 9th, just passed a couple of days ago. Disney made a whole bunch of announcements for what's coming up for not only Disney Plus, Marvel. They had theme park announcements. They had, what else? They had ride announcements. That's actually theme park. I'm just repeating myself, but basically they had Star Wars announcements. Everything that's a property of Disney, they basically have some new announcements, and just letting y'all know that they ain't sleeping. They know they had some success in the past, but the success is gonna keep on coming with the new stuff they're coming out with. Let's start with some Disney TV. Santa Claus. I know everybody's been watching those Tim Allen Santa Claus movies over the years. They're coming out with a TV series, actually. The first 2 episodes are premiering on November 16th. I don't know if you guys are excited for that, but that's going to be on Disney Plus. Some upcoming live action movies that I know I'm stoked about. We got the live action Little Mermaid coming out, featuring Halle Bailey as Ariel, which is going to be groundbreaking. A black Ariel. I cannot wait to see that. And I know she can sing, so she's going to be out there holding it down. I'm not exactly sure when that comes out, but I'm sure you guys will see the previews ramp up as of, coming up, because I know that preview did drop at D23. And I'm sure it's circulating on Twitter now if you want to go check it out. Peter Pan and Wendy, a movie about them, like after they made it to Neverland. I guess it's going to be about them. I'm not too sure what exactly it's going to be about. Just a poster came out. So if you guys are Peter Pan fans, we got Peter Pan and Wendy, the movie coming out. One I'm personally excited about that's coming out is a Mufasa prequel to Lion King. It's going to tell you about the life of Mufasa, because, you know, in Lion King, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen it, you need to be, I don't know what's wrong with you, but Mufasa does die, so we don't get to see much of Mufasa in the Lion King movie. So this prequel actually gives us a chance to learn a little bit about Mufasa and his early life, so we get to see why he was the way he was. It's going to be interesting to see who they get to play Mufasa, actually, because it's a pretty prominent character, and it's going to be really interesting. Also, let's see, we got the upcoming MCU stuff. Black Panther, of course, Wakanda Forever. We talked about this a little bit in past episodes, but November 11th, 2022, we do have Wakanda Forever coming out, Black Panther 2. Again, we're interested to see who's going to be the Black Panther, who's going to step up to, represent the family. People think it's going to stick to the comic book lore, and Shuri's going to step up and be the Black Panther. What we didn't get, though, at D23 that we thought we would see in the MCU, we got a whole bunch of names like Denzel Washington. I forgot all the names we had. I think it was a bunch of names they dropped that we thought were going. Henry Civil, who was Superman in over in DC. We thought he was going to come over to the MCU and play a character in Wonder Man. We thought that announcement was going to be made. But nope, none of those announcements got made, and we're stuck with a couple of announcements that we kind of already knew what was coming, but we actually got dates for it. It wasn't all disappointing for the MCU, but we did get some trailers that were exclusive to D23. So if you weren't there, we don't really get to see them quite yet. But the announcements were made, and we got to see a bunch of dates and stuff that get to come out. So like I said, Wakanda Forever is coming out November 11th. Ant-Man and the Wasp is coming out. Actually, I already know when that's coming out, but a new trailer came out for that, showing Kang in there and showing how Kang's going to be introduced into the MCU through there. Because it's really interesting. Kang's a really cool character if you guys know his comic book lore and everything about his backstory. And Jonathan Majors is a great actor, and we saw a little bit of him in Loki. And Loki 2 is actually coming out, which is also one of the Disney Plus announcements I'll talk about a little bit later. But yeah, to ease into phase 5 and phase 6, we gotta learn more about Kang because he's gonna be the big antagonist in these phases that are coming up. So Ant-Man and the Wasp, a new trailer came out. We got the Marvels, the Monica or is it Monica Rambeau? Yeah, Monica Rambeau, Kamala Khan, and Miss Marvel, the group. They got their movie coming out, The Marvels. Not too sure what it's going to be about, but we saw in Miss Marvel that once Kamala put on one of the gauntlets at the end, she switched places with Miss Marvel, or Captain Marvel, excuse me. So we know it's going to be some kind of play on that and some continuation off of that. I heard from some other podcasts that Captain Marvel switched places with Kamala Khan. Kamala Khan switched places with Monica Rambeau, and Monica Rambeau, I think, took the place of Captain Marvel. So we're gonna see a Freaky Friday situation in there, and we're gonna see who comes out and see some wacky stuff. I don't know if it's gonna be great, but I'm interested to see. I'm interested in seeing Monica Rambeau again because we got to see a little bit of it in WandaVision and her powers, but I think her powers are really cool in the comic books. So if we get to see that on screen and some more of that, that would be tight. But The Marvels is coming out on July 28th, 2023. Thunderbolts, which is cool. It's supposed to be the Marvels version of Suicide Squad. Got a bunch of characters in that. It's going to be really exciting. I talked about it a little bit before, I think, as well. I think who's in there? You got, well, people are kind of mad because it's a whole bunch of Captain America type characters. You got the Red Guardian, who is pretty much a Russian Captain America. You got Taskmaster, who's kind of like Captain America in a way. You got Yelena, who is the Black Widow. Sorry guys, there's a fumble, a fumble in this game. I'm watching the game simultaneously. But yeah, you got Yelena, who's pretty much a spy kind of ninja character. You have a U.S. agent who is a super soldier. You have Winter Soldier, who's basically a super soldier. You have the Abomination, who we see in She-Hulk, and we have Captain Nemo. Or Baron Zemo, excuse me, I said Captain Nemo. Baron Zemo, Red Hawk, supposed to be in it as well, but General, the guy that played the General actually passed away recently, so we have to get a new person to play the Red Hulk if they're going to actually add him in the movie. But yeah, it should be interesting, man, because I know the MCU can put a good movie together, and I know Suicide Squad had potential, but they didn't really put it together. You know how DC does movies, they don't really complete the task, you know what I'm saying? But I think MCU can do it right, and if they kind of do it right, they can have a series here with the Thunderbolts. I think it's gonna be a movie. I don't think it's gonna be a TV show. It's coming out July 26, 2024. And then they announced the Fantastic Four film, but no footage, no cast, not really any announcements, just letting us know that the movie's gonna be made. As far as Disney Plus shows, they had Werewolf by Night, which is kind of new to me. They dropped a trailer for that. It's kind of like in their horror series. They're kind of going for a kind of like MCU horror kind of edge because Blade and Werewolf by Night, I think Moon Knight are all going to be in some kind of like mystical kind of like horror kind of like genre of the MCU. So they're slowly introducing those characters. I did hear Mahershala Ali is supposed to be in this show as Blade and make a cameo in it, but they pulled it. They're trying to make us wait, man, because everybody knows Blade is the ultimate, icing on the cake. Everybody's waiting for Blade, but they're slowly giving us a little bit of what we want. But they did take him out of this trailer. The trailer is out now. If you guys want to check it out, I've seen it on Twitter, probably on YouTube, everywhere. Secret Invasion. We did get the trailer for that as well. Another Marvel flick. You got Nick Fury. Finally get to see what he's been doing this whole time. Him and Rhodey, Don Cheadle. are out there, and these scrolls are invading. You know what I'm saying? They can change into anybody, and the whole world is invaded with these scrolls. Shield is kind of like dismantled. So Nick Fury and Rhodey got to put a team together to try to fight these scrolls. In the comic books, everybody in the world was scrolls, the heroes and everything. Villains were scrolls as well because it was a secret invasion. You know, they're hiding amongst us and type shit like that. So it's gonna be interesting to see how they portray that as well. So we got that coming in the spring of 2023 on Disney Plus. Loki season 2 is coming summer of 2023. They just dropped a trailer showing where we are in Loki. We do meet He Who Remains in the last season, and he talks about what's coming after what's her name, Sylvie killed him, stabbed him, knowing that he always gets reincarnated, and the one that comes next is always worse. So we're going to see what happens after that. Of course, I said we're going to see him in Ant-Man, Quantumania. So it's going to be interesting. I'm excited, and I can't wait to see how this all turns out. It's all going to come at us fast. And I know it sounds far now, but that's always how it is. And then it kind of just sneaks up on us, and it's all here before we know it. Echo, they have Echo show coming. We saw Echo in Hawkeye. She was deaf and had the one leg, and she was Native American. And the Echo character in the film, in the comics, I don't think she was, I don't think she had one leg, but she was deaf and Native American. She might have had one leg. I'm not too sure, but they had some really good representation, and she did a really good job. She did a really good job in Hawkeye. So she is getting her own show. She's like a Taskmaster character herself. She can kind of mimic the fighting styles of everybody else, kind of like what they're hearing, because her senses kind of get enhanced. Say what they're hearing, she's deaf, but her other senses get enhanced because her hearing is gone. So she's able to just watch people and mimic their fighting styles and shit like that. So she's an interesting character. She gets a show. We're going to definitely see Kingpin in there, probably Daredevil cameos in there as well. And we're going to get Ironheart also late 2023. Her first appearance, Riri Williams. She's going to be in Wakanda Forever, November 11th. This is kind of Iron Man's protege. She was a student, and she's hella smart, and she was able to make a suit for herself. And she's prominent in the comics as well. So it's going to be a really good series. Armor Wars is supposed to come out as well. There was no announcement for that, but I'm sure it's going to come out a little later, and she's going to be a big part of that as well. Basically, she's going to be the new Iron Man. But he still got War Machine, but Don Cheadle's kind of old as well, so I don't know what they're going to do with that. So they're probably going to bring Riri Williams into the forefront so they can keep the Iron Man character going and the new kind of younger Avenger people, you know what I mean? And then that leads us to the biggest one that I'm sure everybody's really excited about, Daredevil, Born Again, coming spring of 2024, 18 episodes. And they're saying this is a whole reboot of the character. It's different than the character from the Netflix shows. Same person, same look, same person, but the whole backstory is going to be revamped. Everything about him, even the costume's going to be different. We saw a cameo, spoiler alert, if you guys didn't see She-Hulk today, the guy that makes superhero costumes had the Daredevil hat or helmet in his bag, and kind of showing that he's gonna redo the suit for the Daredevil. So it's gonna be interesting to see. I'm excited for it. I was a big fan of the Netflix series when it was out. I'm hoping we get a cameo from the Punisher, Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, and all of them kind of just come into the MCU as well, because a lot of those shows were good except for the Iron Fist. So don't let them die. You can get fans that way, and I'm sure the fans will love it if you guys brought those guys in, guys and gals. I know Rosario Dawson would love to. She's probably gonna be in Daredevil anyway, but she's doing everything. Ahsoka. But we'll talk about Star Wars. Man, my transitions are A1 right now. But that ends the Disney Plus stuff and the MCU stuff. All that stuff is coming real soon. So if you thought all the shows was going to end after Miss Marvel and She-Hulk and stuff, I know it's a little lull right now. Everybody's not too interested in these shows, but they are going to come out with some heat, as you can see, and the heat is going to be scorching, so don't miss it. And lastly, they have some Star Wars announcements. I know you guys have been seeing the Andor series. The trailer has been been everywhere. The show's actually coming out in a couple of weeks. Next week, actually, September 21st, and they drop in 3 episodes. 3 episodes at once. And this is more of it seems like the last couple of series I've seen, it gave us aspects from people that used to be working for the Republic and had a change of heart, and they're doing some spy kind of like, some spy shit. It seems like a Star Wars kind of spy movie. So I'm not too super, entrenched in the Star Wars lore, so I can't even tell you where Andor comes from. I can't even tell you if it's from the cartoon or back in the past from the movies. AKA, if AKA was here, he would let you know. I watch everything Star Wars, but I can't really pinpoint and tell you. I don't really have all the backstories. I kind of just watch the stuff and take it in from the fans that love it so much. So I'm kind of like a fair weather fan when it comes to Star Wars. So again, maybe we'll have AKA be on the podcast when these shows come out and kind of express what these characters mean. But Andor is coming out first 3 episodes. I think they're dropping them in 3 episodes each. And each 3 episodes is like a time jump, like a significant time jump. So first episodes will be in one time period, and the next 3 will be set in a certain different time period, and the next after that. So it's gonna be interesting to see how these shows can get pushed out, because they're kind of, they're all under the same umbrella, but they are kind of competing with these MCU shows. So to see them go back and forth and they're just kind of going off each other, when one show ends, another one starts, I appreciate that. Gives me something to review with you guys and something to watch and something to do over this, over these days and hours and months of constant content, because I'm here for y'all. I ain't gonna stop popping off the content. Y'all know I got y'all no matter what. Next we got Mandalorian season 3. We got a trailer for that. It's supposed to be coming out February 2023. That's not too far away, man. We just had a little season not too long ago, and we thought it'd be a long time before we saw Mandalorian again. But it's February 2023. We're gonna get him and Grogu together, going on some adventures, because the end of last season, they got back together, reunited, if you haven't seen it. And yeah, it's gonna be crazy shit. Mandalorian's probably the best series they have out for Star Wars right now, as far as the TV shows go. So everybody loves Mandalorian. I love Mandalorian. I got the character back there somewhere. You see Chrysanthemum back there. You know what I'm saying? Flocked. I ain't gonna get into all the pop stuff, because I can talk about pops forever. We're gonna have a pop episode probably. Yeah, if you guys are into pops, tune in, because we will have one of those goddamn episodes soon, because I haven't bought one in a while, and I got the itch, you know what I mean? Next, we got the Bad Batch season 2. They have a double episode premiere coming out on January 24th of 2023. I didn't really watch the Bad Batch too much. I liked it. I watched the beginning of it, but I kind of like tailed off towards the end. There was hella episodes, more than I expected, and I didn't really watch every episode, but it was pretty tight. It gave us a little aspect of how it would be if some of the stormtroopers were doing their own thing and they had their own personalities. It was pretty tight. If you guys aren't really into the Star Wars stuff, it's a tight little series to watch, to try to like, you don't have to be super knowledgeable of what's going on in the backstory of it, and it's kind of a new thing, so you can just check it out and watch it leisurely, you know what I'm saying? And then of course the one I'm looking forward to besides Mandalorian the most is Ahsoka, which is coming out early 2023 as well. Rosario Dawson doing her thing as Ahsoka, and I can't wait to see this story, you know what I mean? A lot of these shows and movies are coming out, and I'm gonna watch them all. I don't know if you guys are as into the shit and nerdy as me, but hey, we gonna watch it all. I'm gonna let y'all know what's going on, just in case y'all don't. And I got the reviews, I got everything you need on here, you know what I'm saying? And that's all from D23. That's all I really got. But yeah, man, Friday, y'all get out there and have some fun. This is the end of the episode where I like to let them know where you can find me at. For new listeners, for old listeners, you already knew that, but for the new listeners, SAC_Lydell, that's where you can find me on the Instagram. Patrick_Lydell, that's where you can find me on the Snapchat. If you're looking for the merch, I'm trying to work on the website this weekend to get you guys a visual of all the things I got in the inventory and everything I have. But you guys know I got the buckets, I got the truckers, dad hat, you see a couple of them back there, beanies on a little mannequin towards the bottom. You know what I'm saying? I got t-shirts still if you need them. I got mediums, large. I'm still getting ready to up the inventory on that, do some tank tops, fall's coming, do some sweaters, but hit me up, man. I got a bunch, new colors, new hats coming soon. I still got a bunch. I've like another 50 hats to add to the inventory, so I'm waiting to do that. I'm waiting to get those finished and made before I put the complete inventory up on the website. But you know where to find us at on the YouTube, bestofbias.com, just the Best of Bias podcast. Plenty of videos up there provided by AKA. Does a great job with all the videos, and I appreciate him so much for that. Like, subscribe, tell your friends, comment, all that stuff, because we do get put in the algorithm the more likes and the comments we get. Y'all already know that. So help us out, help us help you, and get to more people and grow this family, you know what I'm saying? What else? Oh yeah, before we go, I can't let this slide. Social gloves, man. The boxing event that happened this weekend, a bunch of prominent people that that are either entertainers, athletes, or just like, I guess, socialites were boxing, put on the gloves. Austin McBroom, V-Rounds follows him a lot, so I am kind of like knowledgeable who this guy is. He actually was putting on the event. Social Gloves is his thing. Him and his family put on boxing events for like social media content creators and boxers. So Austin McBroom, he fought somebody and got knocked out 4 times, which I thought was kind of crazy for the person to put on the event and to be talking all this shit. I know you got to talk shit to promote these fights, but fuck, to get knocked out 4 times, that's crazy, dog. Le'Veon Bell knocked out Adrian Peterson, which is a crazy thing to see. Holy crap. No way, just got a pick 6. No way, the pick 6er? Oh no, Justin, what the hell? Anyways, I'm sorry about that. I forgot what I was even talking about this point. Oh yeah, Social Gloves. Le'Veon Bell knocked out Adrian Peterson. That was crazy to see. Yeah, that was kind of crazy to see. Put him on his toes. Swaggy P, Nick Young quit in the middle of a boxing match. It was pretty bad. Pretty bad. I don't even know what happened. He just straight up quit. We had Corey Wharton from The Real World fighting some other dude that was on The Challenge, I think once, or Too Hot to Handle, one of those shows on MTV. They weren't even boxing. Corey, you guys all know Corey because we talk about The Challenge on this podcast a lot. All he was doing is throwing overhand rights with his head down. He wouldn't throw no lefts, and he would just grab dude after he threw that right. I know boxing is probably hard, and they probably, didn't have all the techniques and weren't super experienced with it. But for the fact that, I don't know, they was talking all this shit, and these fights were so hyped up for him to be so mediocre. It's kind of crazy. But the dude that fought Austin McBroom, I think his name was Gibbs or something like that. Congratulations to you, because you can tell he was putting in some work in the gym. Austin, I don't know if he was just trying to promote these fights to make some money real quick, because it didn't seem like he was in the gym too much, because dude was just knocking him all over the place. Who else fought in this fight? Fought in this card? Thought it was some more famous people that we might not. Austin McBroom's brother. I don't really know who he fought. I don't really know nothing about that fight, but I just wanted to mention that because I know a lot of people know these Le'Veon Bell. They definitely know Corey and them, and they know Austin McBroom a lot. So if you guys watch that fight, I ain't got my boxing aficionados on here to talk it with me, but man, y'all got to do better, yo. Because I don't know if these fights are going to last and people are going to keep watching this stuff. Well, I don't know how many people actually paid for it. It didn't seem like too many people showed up. But if you guys want these fights to be prominent and to people to watch them, you guys got to train more and actually do the work to be fighting, not just promote the fight, because that was kind of crazy to see. But anyways, I have to throw that in there. But yeah, if you need any merch, if you guys want to watch the podcast, let's talk about this stuff that I want to talk about now. Forget the Social Glove stuff. But yeah, if you guys want to watch the podcast, you know where to find me. It's SAC_Lydell, Patrick_Lydell, Best of Bias Podcast, and that's about it, man. Again, though, grab some merch now, because I mean, I know a lot of people listen to this podcast or even know about this podcast or just at least know me. Support a brother. Buy some hats. You know what I'm saying? I got a bunch, but I'm gonna be rocking it. So if you see me on the streets and you need some gear, just let me know. But yeah, this is the part of the episode where I like to let them know where my theme song is at. It's right here. My theme song is right here. Have a good Friday. Love you all. And we'll be back at it next Friday. Yeah, content. We have some guests. My little cousins are going to be on here soon introducing very, very talented Amaya and Anissa. Ash Wash is going to be back. V-Rons is going to be on soon. Everybody you guys love besides me. I know you love everybody more than me. You get all the views on the videos everybody else is on. It's all good. I see how y'all are, but I still love y'all. But peace out for now. Yeah.
It's the best of Bias. You need the earful, you should try us. From pop culture to the movies to unite us. It's the best of Bias. The best of Bias. Yeah, it's the best of Bias.
You are now listening to the Best of Bias Podcast.